Hey guys, welcome back to True Crime with Shannon, where I cover missing persons, unsolved cases, crime news, and more. Well, I wasn't sure we were going to get another video out here before Christmas, but I figured I'd get one last update out on the Idaho 4, which I know we always sort of cringe on calling them that, but that seems to be what we're calling them. But before I get into the updates in the case, I always like to feature a missing persons poster on the channel, so let me pull up today's missing persons poster. Today's missing person is also an at-risk person. It is 21-year-old Evan Michael Cockerham. This guy is 6 foot, 145 pounds, brown hair, blue eyes. It states detectives from the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department are seeking assistance in locating the above missing person. Missing person Evan Cockerham was last seen on December 6, 2022 on the 700 block of Silver Spur Road in the city of Rolling Hills Estates. Any information, please contact the Sheriff's Office Homicide Bureau, Missing Persons Detail. If you prefer to provide information anonymously, you may call Crime Stoppers by dialing 800-222-TIPS, which says 800-222-8477. You can use your smartphone by downloading the P3 Tips mobile app on Google Play or Apple App Store, or by using the website lacrimestoppers.org. Again, this is a 21-year-old missing young person out of Los Angeles. So if you have any information on Evan, please do contact the authorities. So while there's not a ton of updates per se in the Idaho 4 case investigation, there of course has been some talk and things going on. Obviously there's stuff happening. We just don't know everything that's happening because we're not part of the task force or law enforcement. It looks like News Daddy Brian Entin has come in from the cold, and he is in studio. He was in studio last night, and he spoke with the police chief, insisting that the early Idaho investigations were proper. So I'm just going to go over real quick the article, and we're going to play the interview with the chief and Brian Entin. Moscow, Idaho. Police Chief James Fry told NewsNation in a one-on-one interview he believes the initial hours of the investigation into the deaths of 4 college students were handled properly in response to concerns about the investigation's stability. The family of one of the victims, Kaylee Gonzalez, felt police were too quick to rule out some people as suspects in the case, telling NewsNation they believe she may have had a stalker. Police also since have said they cannot verify that Gonzalez had a stalker. Yeah, I haven't seen any validity to that. And yes, there was the vape shop owner, manager, who told Brian Ensign that Maddie, I guess, told him that Kaylee had a stalker, but again, that apparently has not been confirmed. NewsNation's Brian Entin interviewed Fry on Thursday and asked if he felt the first 48 hours of the investigation were handled properly. So let's check out that interview that Brian Entin did with James Fry and on Dan Abrams Live last night.
With Moscow Police Chief James Fry. Chief, thank you so much for being with us. It's been almost 6 weeks now since the murders. I know you're getting hundreds of tips still coming in every day. Are you getting closer, Chief, to finding the killer or killers?
You know, we're continuing the investigation. We're continuing to push on. We have, like I said from the very beginning, I'm very confident that we will have a conclusion to this. A timeline, you know, that's going to be as things develop, and we're following up on all those leads.
The latest I heard, you've done 250 interviews, your detectives, which is an enormous amount of work going on behind the scenes that obviously the public can't see. And I know there's a lot you can't talk about, but can you tell us whether you're zeroing in on one or two people at this point?
Like we've said through the whole investigation, there's things we have to keep for the integrity of the case, and we're going to continue with that. We are interviewing a lot of people, and we're gathering a lot of information, and we're putting that puzzle together, and we're painting a picture, and we're trying to put that all together.
I've sort of thought about this, Chief. The fact that you've got so many resources there in the FBI and technology and the resources from the feds, should we assume that this was almost almost like a professional who knew what they were doing? Because it seems like if this was just some college kid, surely that person would have been tracked down by now.
So I think there's some misconception out there with how we operate here in Moscow. We've called in ATF in the past. We've called in the FBI in the past on many of these big cases because they have resources that we don't. And we want to have the best investigators there. That's why we call in the state police from the very beginning of these as well. So we've always done those type of investigations with the help of our federal partners as well as our state partners.
And you mentioned calling in the state police at the beginning. One concern that we've heard from the Gonzalez family attorney is he has questioned how the investigation was handled in the first 48 hours. He says perhaps there was more that could have been done immediately after the murders. Do you think things were handled properly right at the beginning? I mean, do you have any regrets about the way things were initially handled?
I do think they were handled properly. We secured the scene quickly. We called in the state police. We did our due diligence in getting the things that we needed to do to, have this be a solid case all the way through. We called in the state lab to collect evidence, and I believe that it was the initial stuff that we started and how we did things that will help bring this to a conclusion.
Is there any way of knowing right now, and again, I know there's things you can't say, but of whether this murderer is still in the area or may be far away by now?
Like I said, we're not disclosing any of that, but there's some of that we just don't know at this point. We're still trying to put everything together. We've said all along that we need people to be vigilant. We need people to pay attention because we're not sure exactly where the individual is.
The white Hyundai Elantra that's obviously gotten so much attention, people all over the country looking for it. Should they still be on the lookout? I mean, do you think you've gathered what you need in terms of that car, or are you still wanting people to call in?
We still are asking people to call in on any spotting of white Elantra. We appreciate all the tips that we've gotten, not only from local Moscow, but state, but across the nation. And we're following up on all those. So every tip helps. Like I said, we don't know exactly which tip is going to be the one that really secures a piece of information that we're looking for, but we're looking into all those.
Thanks to NewsNation and Brian Entin for that interview. Of note, some of the families are not so happy about Chief Fry's comments and responses in this interview, and have made note of that today since this interview aired last night on NewsNation. So this was in response to the interview that Brian Entin did on NewsNation with Chief Fry. This is the Independent. Idaho unalivings update. Moscow police chief gives frustrating response to question about unalivers' whereabouts. So let's check this out. Nearly 6 weeks since the unalivings of 4 University of Idaho students, police are still refusing to say how much they know about the whereabouts of the unaliver. In a frustrating interview with NewsNation this week, Moscow Police Chief James Fry declined to answer a question about whether the culprit was still in the area. Like I said, we're not disclosing any of that. But there's some of that we just don't know at this point, Mr. Fry said. We're still trying to put everything together. We've said all along that we need people to be vigilant. We need people to pay attention. We're not sure exactly where the individual is. It comes after Steve Gonzalez, the devastated father of unaliving victim Kaylee Gonzalez, told CNN that he has to believe that his daughter's unaliver will be caught. Sunday will mark the 6-week anniversary of the day when Gonzalez, Madison Logan, Xana Cardoodle, and Ethan Chapin were stabbed to death in their beds in Moscow on November 13th. All right, and another of note, there's a couple more updates here as well. A former resident of the home has spoken out. A University of Idaho graduate who lived in the home where 4 students were unalived in November has said that residents usually could hear each other's footsteps. It's definitely an old, creaky house, Cole Alternator, who graduated in 2022, told ABC News. You can't walk up any of the stairs or on any of the floors without everybody in the house knowing it. That is interesting to hear. Police have said that the 2 surviving roommates who were in the home at the time of the unalivings have been cleared, Moscow police said. The department said the roommates are not believed to be witnesses of the crime and likely slept through the attack. Well, that is interesting, though, to hear that the house is creaky and these roommates would have heard something. But again, I don't believe that that's going to discount the fact that if it's such a party house, which they all state it is a party home, that they might have just thought there was other people in the house having a good time. So we can't just say that these other 2 roommates, you know, have anything to do with the unalivings. I mean, I know we're suspicious of the fact that they survived, and then of course that they called other people to the home, friends to the home, and then they call 911. So that's baffling to me because you had more and more people entering a crime scene. And I'm sure that that's been frustrating for law enforcement as they investigate the case. Another update today is the victim's family pleads for clues. The family of Xana Cardoodle has mailed out 5,000 flyers to Moscow residents pleading for clues, according to Law and Crime. The flyers include photos of the 4 victims and ask people to send any information about the unalivings to the FBI, which has 60 agents and analysts attached to the investigation. We think it's very important and we appreciate that support from the family, Idaho State Police spokesperson Aaron Snell told Law and Crime. Anybody that looked at some of their past social media posts or past pictures and thinks something's out of the ordinary, something's odd, we want that information. The activity that might have been done within those pictures or those videos that people may or may not want to submit to the police, that's not what we're interested in. We're interested in the context of the crime. That way we can piece together aspects of this case. We can get a better picture. Yeah, a lot of folks are afraid that, oh, I was drinking, or I don't know, they were, doing some other, maybe they were doing some pot. I don't know, what have you. At this point, your underage drinking is really like not what law enforcement cares about. They want to find this horrible unaliver, and your minor crime of drinking under the age of 21, or whatever, it's nothing, it's peanuts, to them. And if your information, your photos, video, whatever, helps solve or get closer to solving this case and getting justice for these 4 young people, that's really all that matters. So, whether you need to come forward, anonymously, or, you know, whatever it is, I know that, these are young people, obviously, in the school. You have, you know, you have recent high school graduates. You've got 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old kids, and you figure they're all going, well, I have my whole life ahead of me. I really don't want to get into, this whole mix. I don't want to ruin my future. But I don't think that that's something that they need to fear anymore. I think that, they just need to, come up and come forward and give any information that they may have. And, like I said, they're going to write off your minor drinking, stuff. I mean, obviously, we saw the video of them giving out tickets, the evening of this crime. But let's be honest, your underage drinking is nothing right now. I mean, it's still obviously it's still illegal, but I mean, it's nothing. I mean, who cares? I mean, you're 19, 20 years old. I mean, we all know a lot of college kids drink, and it's a party town. It's a party school. I mean, look at the whole area. It's party city. So if that's all you're worried about, just let it go. Please talk to law enforcement. I mean, your input could be what they need to help solve this case. A bit from the Ohio Statesman. The House on King Road, a look at the Moscow home where four University of Idaho students were unalived. At 1122 King Road in Moscow sits a gray, six-bedroom, three-bathroom house that continues to be the source of significant national attention. Known as a student rental, the home's most recent tenants were a group of six University of Idaho undergraduates who signed a 12-month lease that began on June 5th, according to the property management firm that oversees the home. Three of the student renters would not live to see the end of their lease. And of course, there are the girls, well, five of the girls, and there's Ethan. The tenants were Madison Mogan, Kaylee Gonzalez, Xander Kerdoodle, Bethany Funk, and Dylan Morgenstein, as well as an unnamed sixth person on the lease. In the early morning hours of Sunday, November 13th, Mogan Gonzalez, Kernoodle, and Kernoodle's boyfriend, Ethan Chapin, were stabbed to death in the house. Police found two bodies on the second floor and two bodies on the third floor, but have not released which victims were discovered where. Morgenstein and Funk were on the first floor of the home and went unharmed. Police have said they were not involved in the unalivings, which that talk of from former tenants of the home that the house is creaky. Could they slept through it, considering they go into a party house? Absolutely. But the fact that it's creaky, I don't know. I think that would still be suspect. But I suppose if you're pretty drunk or overexhausted or what have you. I don't know. Maybe do you ignore it? Are you wearing headphones? Ear. I don't know. I mean, there's got to be some reason that they supposedly didn't hear any of this. Nearly 6 weeks have passed, and law enforcement still has not named a suspect in the quadruple unalivings. The Ohio Statesman used photos from rental listings and documents submitted by former owners to the city of Moscow to explore the layout of the King Road house. Depictions of the floors are approximations created by the Statesman based on that information. Yes, we've seen some information, but there's still not a lot. We've seen some of the layout, and then of course we had the 3D model that NewsNation showed that someone created. But I'm always interested in seeing more information on this house because obviously it is the crime scene, and this is where every single thing happened to these four people. Just north of the home is the university's New Greek Row, where many fraternity and sorority activities take place. That proximity meant the area was particularly popular among those involved in U of I Greek life. About 1,600 students are members of the school's fraternities and sororities. That total represents 23% of the roughly 7,000 undergraduate students enrolled in fall 2022 at the Moscow campus, according to the university spokesman. Gonzalez was a member of the Alpha Phi sorority, while Mogan and Kernoodle were members of Pi Beta Phi, and Funk is also a member of Pi Phi as well, and identified Mogan as her, quote, big sister in a letter she wrote that was read at a December 2nd memorial. Morgenstein also appears in multiple photos reviewed by the Statesman, including with Funk on the sorority's Facebook page, wearing clothes with Pi Phi insignia. And I apologize, I'm probably saying that sorority's name incorrectly. Many renters in the area around King Road were overflow from the nearby fraternities and sororities, said Marita McClanahan, supervisor at Team Idaho Real Estate and Property Management. We have a lot of university students as our tenants, and we've got quite a few of the properties down there on King Road, McClanahan told the Statesman in a phone interview. It's a tight-knit community. They're on the backside of campus right across the street from Greek Row, and those kids cycle in and out. The listed owner of the King Row property didn't return email and phone messages from the Statesman. Of course, that is the home. David Jansen, 32, a former U of I graduate who said he's a 5-year tenant of the apartment complex adjacent to the rental home, confirmed that fraternity and sorority members appear to dominate the tightly packed neighborhood. The surrounding Greek life environment contributed to what those familiar with the neighborhood, including Jansen, described in interviews with the Statesman as a loud party culture in the conjoined dead-end streets of King and Queen Roads. This has always been a party place since I've lived here. Always, said Sean Hudley, 34, a nearly lifelong Moscow resident and maintenance person for the adjacent apartment complex. The tenants of the King Road house had received 3 noise complaints for loud music since August, according to a Statesman review of Moscow police reports. 2 came on the same night in early September from separate neighbors in 2 single-family homes, each about a quarter-mile away, on the street located above the valley where the King Road house sits. So there's the map right here with King Road area. Of course, that the red marker would be where the home is. Gonzalez received a warning from police for the first noise complaint in August. Mogan and Kernoodle each received law enforcement warnings from the 2 complaints in September, according to the police reports. In recently released Moscow police body cam footage posted on YouTube, officers were shown trying to track down a resident of the home after the first of the September noise complaints. I guarantee you they're associated with the sorority, Moscow Police Sergeant Dustin Blaker said in a footage to a male student who didn't live at the home. As many of them are living here, it's an off-campus sorority house. So there again is the home. It shows you the floor plan there on the outside. The King Road home's 6 bedrooms had at one time been rented as separate apartments, according to McClanahan, with the property management firm. Primarily for the last 12 years, it has been rented as one unit as a single-family home, McClanahan said. The house originally had 2 floors, but an owner requested to add the lowest floor in 2000, according to Moscow city permits. The home is 3,120 square feet, according to Zillow. The Latah County Assessor's Office assessed its value at $343,848 in August. All right, the first floor. All of the tenants except the 6th unnamed person on the lease, who police said had moved out before the start of the school year, were home at the time of the November 13th attack. The 5 housemates, along with Chapin, were all back at the King Road house by 1:56 a.m., police said. Call records made by Mogan and Gonzalez indicated the attack happened sometime after they placed a call at 2:52 a.m., according to the New York Times. The roommates on the first floor, Morgenstein and Funk, likely were asleep until later that morning, according to police. Attempts by the Statesman to reach Funk and Morgenstein have been unsuccessful. I believe, this is my opinion, I believe that those 2 surviving roommates have probably been advised by police and potentially lawyers, attorneys, to not speak to the media. So this is the first floor, and it shows the second. Okay, then second and third floors here in the pink. So surviving room, bedroom A, surviving roommate, bedroom B. And then here's the driveway here. So this is they come in, and there's that stairway. We've seen the stairway in some photos. And so those would be the 2 rooms for the 2 surviving roommates, and then there's a bathroom and a closet, looks like. At 11:58 a.m., a 911 call was made from inside the house on one of the surviving roommates' cell phones, according to police. The roommates summoned friends to the house because they believed one of the victims on the second floor had passed out and was not waking up. Multiple people spoke with the 911 dispatcher before officers arrived, police said. Authorities have declined to release the 911 recording, citing an ongoing investigation. Yeah, that's definitely something that I want to hear, and I know a lot of people really want that one too. I don't think we're going to get it, at least until they have this case with the suspect or suspects and more sealed up. And we may not hear it until trial. On social media, many have expressed disbelief that Morgenstein and Funk would not have woken up during the unalivings. However, former first floor tenant Ryan Augusta told Fox News that he typically heard nothing from the second and third floors when he lived there in 2019. Reached by the statesman, Augusta said he stood by his prior statement, which is interesting because that other statement that just came out today or late yesterday, that you can hear creaking, any movement in the home. So they kind of contradict each other. So which is it, that you could hear nothing on that first floor or that you can hear creaking? Can't be both. So one of them's got to be wrong. City records and photos from online rental listings indicate the first floor has two bedrooms that open into a shared hallway. The hallway also leads to a bathroom and a stairway that goes to the second floor. A door between the bedrooms opens to the property's driveway. Okay, then we move to the second floor. The second floor of the home includes a living room, two bedrooms, a bathroom, and a kitchen. This floor can be accessed through the outside through a sliding glass door between the porch and the kitchen. This floor has two separate staircases, one that leads to the first floor and one to the third floor. Cornudo lived on the second floor. Her mother, Kara Northington, said in an interview earlier this month with NewsNation. Chapin's mother, Stacy Chapin, previously confirmed to the statesman that her son spent the night at his girlfriend's house. So this would be the second floor here. There's bedroom D, bedroom C, and this would be the living room. I believe the living room is where they took a lot of their social media pictures. And then the kitchen and the other stairway to the third floor, and of course the porch with that sliding glass door that we all believe, well, not all, I guess we are believing allegedly that the attacker may have entered through that door right here, that slider in the kitchen. Okay, and the third floor. The third floor of the home includes a bathroom and two bedrooms, one of which has a balcony with a sliding glass door. This floor can be accessed only by the staircase from the second floor. Gonzalez's father, Steve Gonzalez, said his daughter and Mogen lived on the third floor, according to Fox News. He said he believes that the two women, close friends since childhood, both slept in Mogen's room on the night of the unalivings. So this would be the third floor here. So you've got one bedroom and the other bedroom, and then you have the balcony. So I don't know which bedroom would have been Kaylee's and which bedroom would have been Maddie's. I'm not sure, but they do share a bathroom as well. Two items, a pair of pink boots frequently worn by Mogen in social media photos, and a decorative letter M, could be seen in the window of bedroom E following the unalivings. Gonzalez posted social media photos from bedroom F. So there's our answer. So bedroom F would be Gonzalez's bedroom, and then E would have been Maddie Mogen's room. Gonzalez had a dog named Murphy who was home at the time of the attack, police said. Officers found the dog in a room where the crimes were not committed, but do not know where he was at the time of the unalivings, according to a news release. Police found no evidence on the dog. So I have to believe, as far as the dog is concerned, if they were sleeping in, so Maddie's room is this room here. So I'm assuming that the dog was in Kaylee's bedroom if they were sleeping in Maddie's bedroom E. So if the dog was in another bedroom and did not have any blood on it or anything to do with the crime scene, I believe she probably had the dog sleeping in her room, and then they were sleeping together in Maddie's room. So again, we have gone over the layouts and all that sort of stuff, but I always feel like more insight into them is never a bad thing, and I'm definitely not someone who can make a layout like that, but it kind of gives you a really good idea, of the home. The more I see, the only thing better is to actually be there and actually see it in person, which we all can't do, and The question is, I have now is you have one former tenant stating you can't hear anything from that first floor that's down on the parking level down here. And then you have another one saying you can hear creaking. The house creaks when anybody moves around. So I just can't get over you can't have it both ways, or is one just more sensitive to noise? But again, this is a party house, a party area. It's Greek Row, so I don't know. It just seems to me like you think that former tenants would be on the same page as far as noise, or at least say, well, there's some noise, but not it didn't bother me, what have you. So it's either quiet on that first floor or it's not. So let me know what you guys think of that. That's something that sticks with me right now. You know, the two kind of condescending, opposite thoughts on it. But but yeah, so there's like I said, there's not too much of updates. We're hitting here, but I figure we get this all out, and the more insight we have into it, the better. And I'm continuously looking into that. And again, I have no idea who could have done this, and I won't name any names here or any potential POIs. Again, like I've previously stated, because I don't want to dox anybody or cause any issues. And of note, I don't know if any of you guys saw it. There's an article that's gone out. A TikToker, I don't post rarely on TikTok. Apparently, a known TikToker has has blamed, and must be pretty intense, blamed a University of Idaho professor, stating that this professor committed this horrific crime, and this professor is now suing the TikToker. So there's another good reason to not put names out there and people until we know what's truly happening as far as suspects and persons of interest go. I will stand by my opinion and my thoughts that this may have a frat connection. The more and more you hear about this Greek row and frat situation, I think there's something there. That's where I stand on it. Like I said, I don't know who or what goes into it, but something to do with the frat just doesn't. Just rubs me the wrong way. It really does. So, but again, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you think that Moscow PD is going to solve this case? I have confidence in Chief Fry and the team. The FBI stated that this is not their case. They're there to assist, and as well as the state police. And I don't have any problem with that. The local police is always going to be in charge, and they're going to have the higher, uh, you know, departments and feds and all that. Are going to be there to do anything they can and fill in any of these gaps that they need to. I don't have a problem with a younger detective being on the case. Just because he's in charge of the investigation doesn't mean he doesn't have folks that are more educated than him and have more experience in a unaliving case or anything this horrific. Doesn't mean he doesn't have them really heading up a lot of this stuff. Just he's just in charge, but he may have a lot of these folks that are more experienced doing a lot more than we all realize. So I just feel like we have to trust law enforcement, and hopefully that they solve the case, with everybody who's involved. But all right, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think in the comments. And I hope you guys have a great Christmas if you celebrate, or if you're celebrating Hanukkah. I hope you're having a great Hanukkah or whatever you celebrate. And with that said and done, that's going to be it for this one. I probably won't be putting a video out till Monday or Tuesday. So have a great one with your family and friends. And most of all, stay safe.